You have major holes in your thinking, and I can prove it. Hi, this is Jim Gibson with Business Podcast. Thank you for listening today. I remember years ago when I was in college, it was a Friday afternoon, last class of the day, and I remember my professor passed out this little piece of paper that we were going to write down our goals for the weekend, what we were going to do. That seemed kind of simple. And I wrote down my goals, and my goals were, well, they were studying for the exam that I was going to have next week. They were finishing the reading requirements that I had for next week. I was going to get ahead. Man, I was going to be like an A student. This was going to be fantastic. I was going to put school ahead of life for the weekend. And then she collected all the goals. Then she passed out a little schedule. It showed half-hour increments on it. It was sort of like an Excel spreadsheet. This is before Excel, though. But it had all the hours for the whole weekend on it. So it started out Friday night, 6 o'clock. And then from 6 to 6:30, you had to write down what you did. And then from 6:30 to 7, you had to write down. And it did that throughout the whole weekend. So it had the whole weekend all mapped out, half-hour increments. And, of course, if you slept for 8 hours, you just put a line through there and write, I slept for 8 hours. That's no big deal. But it was a 24-hour schedule. And so, of course, I filled it out. And I was honest. And I wrote down exactly what I did. Starting Friday night at 6 o'clock all the way up till, Sunday night at 12 o'clock, I think it was. I had no big problems with that. I turned it in promptly at the next class on Monday. And she returned it on Friday. And she was almost rude. She took this red marker and she wrote across the whole paper, diagonally, in large letters in red. And it said, "You have major holes in your thinking." And I was offended. I said, I don't have holes in my thinking. I'm a pretty logical 18-year-old. At least I thought I was. And I said, I'm offended. I'm going to go talk to that professor and find out what's going on. Of course, this was a setup. She knew I was going to come and talk to her, like she probably talked to every other student in that classroom. But I said, okay, tell me, how do I have major holes in my thinking? Please tell me. This is important. I don't see any holes. And she said, well, your goals on Friday were study, read, study. And she says, and what you did, what you turned in on your schedule, you didn't read and study and study. What you did, you turned in on your schedule, you said, spend time with your friends, watch TV, slept in, and went on and on and on like that. And I said, yeah, where's the problem? And she said, well, this proves that wasn't your goals that you wrote on Friday. And I said, yeah, that was my goals. That's what I was hoping to do, but I just didn't get around to it. And she said, no, your goals were spending time with your friends, watching TV. That was your goals for the weekend. And if you would have wrote that down on Friday, my goal this weekend is spending time and watching TV, then I would have said, great, that's exactly what you did, and that's exactly what your goals were. Goals are not just nice, flowery statements on a piece of paper, but goals are actually the things that you do. You can always identify what your goals are by what you spend time on accomplishing. That's truly your goals. New Year's Eve resolution, where they just off the top of their head decide they're going to do something. They're going to lose weight. They're going to make money. They're going to change jobs. They're going to buy a new car. They're going to get a new relationship. They're going to start a business. And in reality, they don't do anything that year because it's not really a goal. It's just ideas in their brain. It's just not even wishes. I don't even know what it is, but we all do it as humans. We all say, I'm never going to do this again. I'm going to do that. Or I'm going to lose weight. Let's talk about weight when it comes to goals. Okay? And look, I'm guilty of this. I'm overweight. I understand that. And I lose weight and I gain weight. I go back and forth. But when I set my mind down to lose weight, I lose weight. So basically, we lie to ourselves. That's what we do. We lie to ourselves when it comes to goals. We don't have goals because we're not interested in having goals because it's easier in life not to have goals. So we basically lie to ourselves. Second thing is, the reason why we don't have serious goals, real goals, not just wishes, is that we're basically lazy. It takes work to have good goals. It takes work because you got to think them through. So we're basically lazy. We don't want to put in the work to come back and get some serious goals. And then lastly, the reason why we don't have goals is it's because we have a fear of failure. So we're afraid to set a goal and not reach it. And we're afraid to tell people, hey, my goal this year is whatever it is, and then not reach it. Then your family, your friends, the people you know, then they're going to look at you and say, oh, what an idiot. So let's talk about something just to give you as an example. A lot of people want to lose weight. I mean, in January, that's the biggest time for Weight Watchers and some of the other organizations that help people lose weight. And everyone starts strong. Yeah, I'm going to lose like 50 pounds this year. And very few people do. But that's what they want to do. They just come off with it off the top of their head. Now, if you're really serious about any goal, including losing weight, you have to start with where you're at. Where are you at? Do the research. So the first thing you have to do is you have to think it through. Where are you at? How much do you weigh? How much do you want to lose? You know, if you don't know, then do the research. Look at people around you. How much do they weigh? I want to weigh like that person because they're skinny enough. Now, just using this as an illustration because we're going to just using it because it's easy to show in goals. And so the second thing after you do your research is you have to have a plan. I'm going to lose so much each day. Notice it's daily. That's what goals are. You pick the big long-term goal. You know, I want to accomplish this much within 3 years, 2 years, 1 year, whatever it is. Then you turn around and you say, this is what I want to do each month. Therefore, this is how much I have to do each day to get to my goal. Same thing with a runner, you know. People out there, they want to run marathons. Well, if you want to run marathons, then you probably need a weekly goal and then a daily goal and a monthly goal. And then when are you going to run the marathon? When are you going to start? What is your training going to look like? How much are you going to train? How hard are you going to train? A lot of people say, well, you know, I want to be a runner. And they go out and they buy the real fancy running gear and running stuff. And then they don't do anything else. So you got to have a plan, long-term plan. And you got to have daily plan for your goals. So write it out. Or I should say research it. Have a plan, write it out. And then the last thing I think you should do is you need to go over your goals daily. So before you go to bed, you think about your goals. When you wake up in the morning, you read your goals again. And then you judge each day whether it was successful. And if you're making progress, then fantastic. That's great. Remember the SMART goals we talked about in the last podcast? Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. SMART. And I said, not only do your goals need those things, but you really need a purpose, a strong purpose to achieve a goal. You need to be able to view what it's going to look like, what you're going to look like when it's done. So if you're that fat person and you're out there running, you know, trying to lose weight and everything else, you should have in your brain the concept of what you're going to look like when you reach your goal. So you got to have a strong purpose, and then you have to stay focused. You know, I see a lot of people just waste time with things, or they watch TV hours and hours and hours, and then when you say, well, you know, as an IT person, you should go and get that certification. Oh, I don't have time. All right, I can't. I had actually a person call me one time. They said, what do you think I should do? And I said, well, how about starting with this certification? You know, doing this study in this area. And he was an IT guy. He wanted to be an IT guy. I don't know what he was thinking about, but he just wanted to talk to me about IT and how to get into IT or something like that. And I said, well, let's start out with the basics. Get this book. Get certified on it. Well, I can't afford that book. I said, you're kidding. It's $25. Oh, well, you know, I got this requirement and that requirement in life. I can't afford that. And I said, go to a used bookstore. Go online. People are selling these things for 1/10 the price of what they paid for it. But people always have excuses as to what they're not going to do in life. And life is short, man. You really need to get going. You need to figure out what you want to do in life. What is your goals? What do you want to accomplish? And if you say, well, I want to accomplish these things, but you don't set time limits to them, then again, you're back in wish zone. Or I'm afraid of failure, or whatever your excuse is. Stop it. Write down your goals and figure out what you need to do. I heard an excuse over and over again from people. They would say, I just don't have time to do that particular goal. I don't have time to run, to become a runner. I don't have time to start a business, or whatever else they think that they have a goal for, which is really they don't have goals. They kind of waste their life. Life is short. Get started on this. You will always, always find time to do the things that are important to you. You always find time to watch the sports on TV, to watch the news, to do whatever else you think's important to you. If you write out what you actually do each day, and you write it out, let's say for a month or a week, then you're going to reveal what your real priorities are. And if you want to change them, now's the time to do it. You want to go into business? Start doing your research. Come up with your goals. Make sure they're specific. Make sure they're achievable. Make sure you have long-range goals, and make sure that you broke them down into short-range goals. And you should know your goals so well, that if someone wakes you up in the middle of the night and they say, what are your goals in life? You should be able to just click them off just like that. Yes, I'm snapping my fingers. You should be able to click them off just like that. You should be able to repeat them, because each night before you go to bed, you're reading your goals. Each night before you go to bed, you're thinking about tomorrow and what you need to do to fulfill those goals. One last illustration before I end. One last description of a friend of mine. He was a great friend, and he is a great friend. I haven't seen him in years, but he's a great friend, and we both had interests in real estate. But he always had an interest in real estate. I mean, he researched, and he researched, and researched. And so sometimes, a couple times a week, I would have to drive a distance of well over an hour, and he and I would talk on the phone, back and forth, about real estate, and about the great advantages there were in purchasing real estate, rental properties that you could rent out, and the income you could get. And I would ask him, are you ready to do something? And he goes, no, I'm still researching. I'm still thinking about it. And then I would buy a piece of property. And then a month later, I would talk to him, and I'd say, hey, I bought this property, and this is fantastic, and I already have it up for rent, and things are working great. How about you? And he goes, no, I'm still thinking about it. And every time I talked to him, he was still researching, he was still thinking, he was thinking and thinking. He's the most thinking person I ever met. He's a great guy, good friend. He never bought real estate. He had the money, told me he did, but he never bought any real estate. He never did anything. I bought real estate 20 years ago, and it's producing income for me each month. And I'm thankful that I did. It has increased in value, everything else. Well, it's the same thing with your goals. Yes, do your research. Yes, write out your goals, but you spend forever thinking about them, you never get anywhere. So I hope I've given you some motivation today. Now is the time to do these things. Obviously not haphazardly, do your research, but then set the goals. Design the goals, write out the goals. Have them daily, do them now. Life is short. Again, this is Jim Gibson with Business Sense Podcast. Thank you for listening today. I hope you have a great day.